And welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to another episode of the Checkers or Wreckers podcast. As always, I am your host, Carter Leonard, along with.
Me, Theel as well.
Yep.
Me again.
Yep.
Second week in a row.
Yep. Today we have Swiss and Theel on the episode, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to episode 18. We are quickly approaching the 20th episode of this show, which is crazy to think about. So welcome to episode 18, ladies and gentlemen. Let's jump right into the meat and potatoes of the episode. Last weekend, Gateway in Portland happened. Let's just say a lot happened.
Oh boy. I missed the truck race entirely because I was at my brother's house, but I did catch the Xfinity race.
I didn't get to catch either race, but I do know the recap of it, so I do know what ended up happening.
Yeah, so
I didn't get the cup race, and
yeah, so we're just gonna give the normal weekend recap. Trucks and Xfinity were on Saturday. The truck race was won by Grant Enfinger, second one of the year for him. So congrats to Grant Enfinger. Other than that, the race was pretty solid for the most part. There were some notable things. Jesse Love got a top 10 in his first ever Truck Series start, so that's good for him at least.
Corey Heim was out with the stomach bug, and so Love got the number 11 truck, and Tony Bradninger got the number 1, I think.
I'm still upset at my pick from last race,
Yeah,
but
Tony Bradninger was in the 1. How did she do? I'm guessing
Bradninger got
terribly.
24th. Though I don't
Okay,
know if that was
right.
because of anything wrong with her or just the chaos, because that race had a little bit of everything.
yeah, I mean, that's the quota for basically every single Truck Series race is that you're gonna have chaos, but then you might have a pretty decent winner, and that decent winner ended up being Grant Enfinger. So congrats to him. The Xfinity Series race at Portland. I can't really say the same because well, let's just say a lot of shit happened.
Yeah.
Yeah, truly, it does feel like Portland lends itself to a lot more chaos, especially with these bigger boxy cars. Because if you look at, say, IndyCar at the track, they're usually a little more clean besides the start. But the Xfinity Series, they always find a way to have some sort of chaos in the middle portion of that race. And, well, definitely had some interesting moments.
Like the battle between John Hunter Nemechek and Sheldon Creed that resulted in Nemechek dumping Creed, and then Creed climbing his way back up the field and dumping Nemechek back, which was hilarious to watch.
Yeah, and then at the end of it all, when they all started running in through the chicane, and Cole Custer was able to sneak through, and despite having only led 5 laps, when in comparison Allgaier and Creed led a combined 70, he was able to win the race.
Yeah.
Well, at least Stewart-Haas
did really good. I was happy about that.
At least Stewart-Haas Racing has won something this year so far. Better than nothing, I guess.
And Connor Mozak top 10, so there's another positive.
Pretty good weekend.
Also, I do want to point out how a lot of people were really expecting John Hunter Nemechek and Sheldon Creed to just completely start throwing hands at each other, but then again, they were just like, hey, you know what? I got you first, you got me back, that's respect, let's just move on from it. They settled
I don't know. Friggin' over the radio, Creed, after he got dumped, said that he was gonna dump Nemechek back, and he did that. And then Nemechek said over his radio after getting dumped by Creed, I'm gonna go and whatever it was, but he basically said he was gonna go and fight Creed after the race, which didn't happen.
I bet.
I do feel like he kind of calmed his tempers down because this is still halfway to the end of the regular season. He's in a good spot, 7th in points. While obviously Nemechek is definitely doing better than Sheldon Creed. I mean, both of them are still in positions where they're both pretty secure in what they're doing. So might as well just say, hey, this is hard racing. You got to move on to next week. But It'll be interesting to see if this develops into anything bigger in future races.
Yeah, there was an interview with Sheldon saying that I don't really think that this should go on because, you know, of all the things that are really going to play into it. So, but I'm glad they settled it like that. So, congrats to Cole Custer for just completely sneaking that shit out. Now let's go.
That was clean.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now let's go on to the final race of the past week, and that was the Enjoy Illinois 300. Kyle Busch gets it done once again for Richard Childress Racing, proving that he still got it.
I got my pick right.
You did. You did, Swiss. You called it.
Pick I got right that weekend besides Verstappen.
Really, I didn't pick Kyle Busch, but honestly, Busch has always seemed to be good at those sort of tracks. I mean, it's not exactly like New Hampshire, but it races similar to that, and he's won there a few times. I mean, he's won there 2015, 2017, and I believe he's won 2019. I can't recall, but he's had success at those similar type tracks. So, hey, I mean, it's a good track for him.
And not only that, but like this is his third win of the year, and this is the most dominant race that he has had all year long. I believe he led about 120 laps, I believe.
Last time I checked, it was, I think, maybe 160 even. But it's a lot of laps that he led, and really didn't seem like contest. He had 121 of 243, so he led essentially half the race, and he picked up a stage win, and he got second in stage 2, so he was one position away from getting the maximum points.
Indeed.
Isn't Kyle like second in playoff points right now, and like first in overall points?
He is second in the playoff points, and he's currently tied for the most wins of the season with Byron at 3 apiece.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And he's not leading the point standings. He's actually pretty low, quote unquote, low down in 7th place. But I mean, considering the fact that Chastain went from 1st to 5th this season, it truly is anybody's game as to who's going to end up winning the championship right now. So I mean, he's still in a great spot. Let's be honest.
I'm looking at the current season point standings as of right now. Currently, he sits 7th in points. So that's not bad. I mean, you know, but then again, I don't really think his point standings, his current position in points should really dictate how solid of a season that he has had so far.
Yeah, he almost became the first person to sweep speed weeks. He almost won the class and got like 3rd. He got hooked in his duel after leading the majority of the laps, and if it weren't for Suarez spinning, he likely would have won the 500.
Yeah, Suarez self-sabotaged him twice in that weekend, so that's kind of...
The friggin' controversy about Kyle Busch in Mexico really came back to get him.
One way or another. Now, that'll do it for the weekend recap portion, but we're not done talking about Kyle Busch. So far, in his first season with Richard Childress Racing, I have his stats on a sheet of paper right now. He has 3 wins, 4 top 5s, 8 top 10s, and only 1 stage win. Judging by his season so far, because we've so far ran 15 races so far this year. Is Kyle Busch right now considered to be a championship threat?
I would say
right
yes.
now would be. At this moment in time, I think the wins are the important thing because it proves that this season has less parity than last year. There's no doubt about it. Obviously, it still has parity, like as the per usual season, but right now it's feeling more like a standard season, which the normal players we expect to win more races are happening. I mean, last year I think the most anybody won was 4, and we already have 2 drivers with 3 right now. So I think, especially with the format that it is at right now, in which it incentivizes winning, and I don't expect it to be as chaotic with winners like last time where all non-playoff winners won races in the playoffs. I think the importance of having all those wins, especially considering 2 locks you into the playoffs, and 3 essentially shows off you can win at any place. 3 wins is showing that he's a really good championship threat. And honestly, I think the entire top 10 are championship threats because they're all within about 2 races of points. So really anybody's game, and Kyle Busch is definitely one of the guys in the ring.
Yeah, I think if Kyle keeps up the consistency and maybe picks up 2 or potentially 3 more wins this season, he could very well easily carry himself to the round of 8 or even the round of 4.
I will say that it is quite impressive through the first 15 races of the year. He has already matched Tyler Reddick's amount of wins in that same exact car from last year at 3.
He's also matched his amount of wins that he's had at Joe Gibbs Racing the past 2 years, I think. Because in 2021, he won Pocono and Kansas, and then in 2022, he won Bristol Dirt.
Oh, he did win Pocono. I actually completely forgot about that. I just thought he won.
Yeah, the long fuel mileage race against Hamlin.
He was stuck in 4th gear that whole entire race.
That too. He tried doing a friggin' burnout, and the car just sat there.
Yeah, because low RPMs when you're trying to do a burnout, not particularly good.
All right, so y'all both have given your takes on if he's a championship contender. Now, I'm going to try my best to not be as biased as possible, but I think as of right now, I think I would consider him a playoff threat, but as a championship threat, I am not exactly sure yet because we all know how, especially when playoffs go into like very big situations for some drivers, it can get very, very chaotic. And I don't know if he, like, I'm sure he could probably win like maybe 1 to 2 more races before the playoffs actually start. But if he gets himself into like the situation where like he has to win in order to get in, then I don't know if he's going to be able to really capitalize on that. I'm not doubting that he doesn't have the capability of having clutch moments, but at the same time, you want to be as safe as possible in the playoffs. That means winning races, getting stage points, doing whatever you have to do to not be below those cut lines.
The benefit of that is he has 16 playoff points. Obviously, it's only 1 stage win, and he only just got that last time. But the benefit is that he already has a higher blanket than most drivers. And considering last year, like 16 playoff points would be considered a lot considering how much parity there was. I feel like it's a good barrier to be having. I mean, it's race 15 of 26 in a regular season, and you still have 11 more to go, and you've got tracks that he's won at before. I mean, he's won at tracks like New Hampshire, and he's won at Pocono before. He's won at Richmond before, so these are good places for him to possibly get more stage points or get more wins. And even if he doesn't get that, a 16-point cushion is more than some drivers are going to get. Some drivers in the playoffs may have 0 cushion, or maybe just 1 or 2 playoff points. So he already has that secured, and obviously that doesn't guarantee anything. And obviously, 15 races into the season of 36 does not mean anything in terms of what it will be like at race 35, not race 15. But it's a good place to be at now rather than scraping by into the playoffs with 2 or 3 races to go and only winning then.
Yeah.
Yeah,
He's having a much more filled season so far. I think with some of the tracks coming up, he can definitely keep that momentum rolling because I think it was last year he won the truck race at Sonoma. Granted, those were trucks, but he still won at Sonoma, and I think, if I remember right, he's won a cup race at Sonoma before.
he's won twice. He's won twice there before, and it would not shock me if he gets another win, if he gets his 4th win of the year this weekend. Not because of the fact that he has momentum, but because RCR's road course program has been improving the past couple of years, and we saw it last year on full display with Tyler Reddick.
Yeah, Tyler Reddick's, what did he win? Two races?
Won Indianapolis, and he also won
Road America.
The road courses, and the 3rd race he won was Texas, but I don't think anybody remembers that he won that race.
I did not remember that he won Texas until you just brought it
I
up.
remembered on like just a dime.
Oh, and some shit happened in Xfinity Series practice as of... what the actual hell happened to Anthony Alfredo?
Oh God, I gotta tune into this.
Apparently his throttle stuck and his car is completely destroyed.
Oh Lord. Throttle sticking.
Wait, what happened,
Throttle
Theel?
sticking is one of the most terrifying things.
Theel, you said what got torn off?
Well, I said that his entire right side sheet metal got torn off. Like, if you scroll up a little bit, basically all the protective, like, covering on the other side of the car is gone, and the nose of it's smashed up. So it's supposed to do that. It just definitely looks strange when a stuck throttle happens to do that much damage.
Oh, Jesus,
Yeah.
man, that is crazy.
God, this season is chaotic in not how we think it is. Speaking of more chaos, from this weekend and last weekend, Gateway Cup race, the brake failures, the car issues.
Oh, yeah.
Oh my God.
Well,
This is interesting.
yeah, so, I was gonna bring up... So, we'll get to the brake failure shit in a minute, but one other thing, another gateway topic that we gotta talk about was the debut of Carson Hocevar's first ever Cup Series start and Corey LaJoie's debut in a Hendrick Motorsports car. Let's just say both of those starts were not comparable at all.
Yeah, LaJoie's left a lot to be desired. Meanwhile, Hocevar looked like he'd had years of experience in this car, running, I think, the highest he got was like 15th or 16th place. And he was running really good till his brakes blew out.
The highest position that Hocevar was at during the race, he got up to P15. Yeah, so he had, I was going to say, Hocevar did pretty well, and LaJoie had a pretty crap race. But I do feel like, while this is obviously not necessarily great for the image of LaJoie, I do feel like it's not necessarily an indicator of what's possible with him. And I feel like it might have just been an off day at a track maybe LaJoie's just not fond of. You never know. But it definitely was polar opposites of what you came to expect.
I will say a lot of people that I know around me kind of really set their expectations high on Corey LaJoie in the 9. Me? I was not. I was
finished 21st.
I'm not saying that I don't think Corey LaJoie doesn't have talent. I think for the current number 7 ride that he is in, I think he gets a lot out of that car. But as for him being in like one of the top rides in all of NASCAR, I definitely think, and it's like you said, Swiss, that start had a lot left to be desired. But for Carson Hocevar, on the other hand, I think with him outrunning LaJoie in that ride, which is a lower tier Cup Series ride compared to what the 9 car is, I think this proves that Carson Hocevar is in fact the real deal.
And in his first ever time in one of these cars, which have been noted to be very tricky to drive.
Indeed.
And he had the knowledge to put it up against the wall when he felt his pedal going soft, which is very smart.
Oh yeah, I'm glad you're going to break that up because the last gateway topic that we're going to talk about in the show is, of course, the big-time brake rotor issues. I counted maybe 2-3 cars had brake rotor issues, Carson Hocevar being one of them, Bubba Wallace being one of them, and another driver that got caught in that was Noah Gragson, but we'll talk about Noah a little bit later as we do have an update on his health, but we're going to get to that a little bit later as that's a situation in of itself that we need to talk about. But, there was a lot of brake rotors, and I think the reason for that is because, well, Gateway has such long straightaways, and you really have to, I wouldn't say slam on the brakes in order to get into turn 1, but you use your brakes a lot at this track.
Yeah, you definitely wear them thin here if you don't blow them out.
The thing is, like unlike say a road course, which while obviously a road course is taxing on the brakes and you're expecting brake failures occasionally, the thing is this track it's 240 laps or basically 480 times when you're going from extreme high speeds to lower speeds. Turn three, going into turn three, you're going about 160 miles an hour, and you have to slow down to 110. It's a wider radius of turn by about 100 feet and has slightly less banking. While as turn one, when you're going down that straight, you're going over 170 or almost 180 miles an hour, and you're having to slow down to basically 100 or even below because it's a tighter turn and there's slightly more banking, but I mean it's still a much tighter turn. And it's easily the most taxing on the brakes of any track. Even Martinsville, you only slow down like 50 miles an hour, and same for New Hampshire. And this is when you're doing it 240 times each way. So 480, that's not going to be extremely healthy for the brakes, especially if you go on long green flag runs and not cool them down, or even on consistent restarts when you're changing the fluctuation of the temperatures of the brakes, that can strain them even more than just long runs.
Also, with how this track is, you're heavy on the brakes, and then you have the really long straightaways where the brakes are very hot going into and through the corner, but coming out of the corner and on the straight, they get cold and kind of makes them flex and lift more, and it wears them out really bad. It can crack them and break them really easily because of how it is. Because with the road course, you're almost always on the brakes, which keeps them warm and keeps them there. On a big track like, let's say, Michigan, you're never really on the brakes. They don't get much use at all, unless you're really having to avoid something you're pushing it way too far into the corner.
Yeah, I mean, it was really tough to see some guys who were having really strong runs, get into it. I believe Bubba Wallace was inside the, like the bottom part, like the top 10. He was like running like, what, 9th, 10th, like, wasn't going to continue his top 5 streak, but it looked like that he was going to get a solid finish overall, and it just that happened, so.
A good, solid finish at the track he's not had really good success at besides 2014, which honestly was kind of a fluke win in trucks. He shouldn't have won that race, but I mean, it was a decent run for him at a track that I sort of expected he wasn't going to run well at, and then the brake rotor just sort of gave way, and nothing you can do about that other than just sit tight and hope you don't hit hard.
Yeah, I mean, just brake rotor crashes typically are some of the like some of like the hardest crashes you're probably gonna ever have, like unless you like don't completely spin out and head at a wall at like a very high speed. Like Hocevar and Bubba knew what they were doing by keeping it up the wall, because had they done what Noah Gragson did, it probably would have hurt even more. So, but yeah.
That was just, man, big issue. I'd say with that. I like Gateway as a track, but I do not think that Cup cars need to be going here, because it's not the greatest track for Cup racing, and it just screws the brakes up really bad.
Yeah. I do think that it does need to be looked at a little bit. One suggestion I've heard is carbon fiber brakes. Now, the issue with carbon fiber brakes is not necessarily the fact that they're hard to acquire, but the weight reduction that they would have, because carbon fiber brakes, while they're more efficient, they're more expensive because they reduce weight significantly. That's what the Garage 56 uses, is a carbon fiber brake, which is much better at long-term sustainability. But as I said before, it's expensive to run and it reduces a lot of weight, so that can extremely mess up the aerodynamics and effects on a car. So truly, I don't know what they can do. I wonder if these issues would have flared up in the Gen 6, because this is still such a taxing track regardless. But either way, it's an issue that I think can be looked at, and I feel like Gateway can survive as a Cup Series track. It just needs to get looked at before we end up doing anything about it.
One thing that Gateway has relied on its two cup dates is not the racing product itself, but it's because of the fan turnout. Because as we have seen in both races, the front stretch grandstands have been completely sold out. Like both races have had really good turnout.
Yeah,
They mentioned on Twitter that they had completely sold out for the weekend. It was crazy.
And I believe, this is my belief, that the main reason that they keep selling out so easily nowadays is not necessarily the fact they're so avid in racing, which they are, but IndyCar is unironically ruining itself at the track because IndyCar's biggest appeal when it returned to Gateway in 2017, I believe, was night racing. It had a night race that was at St. Louis in a place that doesn't have racing, and people loved it. They would pack the grandstands every single time. But now they've slowly drifted that away. It was last year, I believe, a 5 p.m. race, and in 2023, this year, it'll be just another 3 p.m. race like every other IndyCar race on the schedule, and fans don't really care to go to a race in late June, late August, in the scorching hot summer, just to watch an IndyCar race when they lost the appeal of having a nighttime race.
I would
think that's why this race got so much popularity, not just because Cup cars at a track that people love, but also now they have another big event after the other big event that they had is kind of dwindling in popularity.
I will say that if the Cup Series does return to Gateway in 2024, which I'm sure they probably will, I would not mind seeing a nighttime race there because, by the way, I forgot to mention this earlier, is that the race went longer than expected. Not because there was a bunch of wrecks or a bunch of, whatever and shit going on, but because of the fact that there was a big lightning delay and it kept resetting the clock every 30 minutes. And we went back to racing, I believe, like an hour and a half later.
35. It says the red flag was 1 hour 45 minutes and 9 seconds, the first one of the 3 that we had, which the other 2 were less than 10 minutes, so they didn't really feel like they took too long.
Oh yeah,
The other 2 were just track issues.
Oh yeah, I keep forgetting that there were 3 red flags that race, and the race was not too long ago.
I think the second one was because of Gregson's hit into the wall, which damaged it.
Oh yeah.
And the third one was then the Dylan and Stenhouse incident, which is the Cindric issue on Twitter of, oh god, he wrecked me. Whatever.
Yeah. Yep. Whatever.
I got revealed that Dylan came up on Cindric, I think it was, which is funny.
Yeah, and it was truly something. But
Thank God for SMT data. Thank God.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up because it was announced that NASCAR has decided to not penalize Austin Cindric after him and Austin Dillon had their feud on the racetrack on the front stretch. Me personally, I kind of expected this. I don't really see how that was an intentional wreck by Austin Cindric because I just didn't really... Like, I've seen the replay multiple times. I didn't really see how that was an intentional wreck. But because it's Austin Dillon and Pop has to chime in saying, I believe that it was intentional.
Yeah.
I tried to do my...
I like Childress, but man, he can cry sometimes.
Oh, he can. He can. Childress has done some things before that have just, I mean, we question it, including punching his, little did he know, his future driver.
Yeah, now that you bring that up, that reminds me. Friggin' Kyle Busch won on the 12th anniversary of Richard Childress punching him in the head.
Yeah, hold my watch.
It's just great.
Hold my watch.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a pretty iconic moment. But all right, moving on to the next topic of the show, and that's the last that we're going to talk about at the Gateway weekend. Overall, typical Gateway race. I mean, the race in itself was fine for both series, and Portland was pretty exciting. So, yeah, let's move on. So, another team that we're going to talk about, and it's a team that just can't that always gets the rough end of the stick, and that is Legacy Motor Club. It was announced today that the 43 team of Eric Jones had received an L1 penalty. Let's elaborate, shall we?
Not good.
Oh God.
You're already way, way down. Way down. And you're getting these penalties.
Yeah, because what was the penalty for again?
I actually don't have it on my notes. Let me go check.
I can go and find that real quick.
I need.
I know somewhere it's at.
Like, I know he got docked. I know the team got docked 60 points, but I need to know. Oh God. All right, so NASCAR found that Jones's team had modified the greenhouse, which is pretty illegal, and also his crew chief Dave Allens also faces a $75,000 fine, as well as I know he's getting suspended, but I'm not sure how long. The article I'm reading saying that he got docked 60 points as well as 5 playoff points, which I don't mean to be rude. I don't think Eric Jones had those playoff points to begin with.
Yeah, he didn't. He had nothing to him.
Like,
this year's just gone so bad for that team, it's not even funny.
Like, I actually was really looking forward to seeing what they were going to do this year because, you know, based off of what we saw last year, I think it showed that this team has a ton of potential to, you know, I wouldn't say be a championship contender yet, but maybe become, you know, a race-winning team. You know, a team that pops in and out of the top 10 here and there, has some good runs. But, no, Legacy Motor Club has not shown that at all this year.
They run top 20 consistently. And it's a mix of equipment and Noah Gragson.
Yeah. Yeah, to say, like I said, to say that Legacy Motor Club has been getting the rough end of the stick this whole entire season is just a true understatement. You can't tell me I'm wrong.
Because yesterday, not only was it announced that the 43 got the penalty, but it also got announced yesterday that after Noah Gragson's hard hit where his brake rotor failed and he went driver's side first into the wall, and that crash broke the wall, it got announced that he was experiencing concussion-like symptoms, that he would be out for the Sonoma weekend. Grant Enfinger is going to be in the 42.
Yeah, and I was going to mention during the truck race I was going to say this will not be the last time that we're going to talk about Grant Enfinger. So yeah, I will say that when I did see the replay of the crash, that I said, "Ooh man, I would not be surprised if he is like kind of hurt in the head." And then he looked kind of fine during his interview. Like, he was talking, you know, he wasn't like, I don't know every single concussion like symptom. I'm sure the symptoms really didn't develop right away, because like it can either, like, I'm not a doctor obviously, but like symptoms like that could either develop right away or like maybe like a day or two later, and I don't think he got the symptoms right away. But yeah, that was a hard hit, and I know people are going to be quick to point the finger at the next gen car because so far the next gen has had a bad reputation of driver concussions. But in my honest opinion, no matter if it was a car of tomorrow or a Gen 6 or a next gen, I think Noah Gragson still would have been hurt no matter what car.
I don't see how it could be a Gen 7 issue, particularly because it's not even like it was in the spot that's been a trouble spot, and at the same time, keep in mind, you're going about 170 miles an hour hitting that wall at a tighter radius turn than the majority of racetracks. That type of hit before, like those type of little spack like that before, it's gotten drivers concussed before, like Dale Jr. in 2003. He had a gentle little tap of the wall at Dover, and he ended up with a concussion before. Dale Jr. also got a concussion at Michigan in 2016, even though he didn't particularly have a huge hit. There's also Josh Rayham. All he did was back it square into the wall at Bristol, and he got a concussion at Bristol.
Yeah.
You're not even going that fast.
Didn't he get hit like by...
concussions can just happen whenever, because it can either happen with a really light hit, like, you know, what Theel said, or it can happen with a really hard hit, like Dale Jr.'s 2002 Fontana crash.
Now, I will be in all fairness to, I think, everybody around, comparing that crash to Kurt Busch's Pocono wreck and Alex Bowman's Texas wreck, yeah, Gragson's was the hardest one out of all of those.
But we've seen worse with the Gen 7 in terms of rear end impacts than we have in 2022, which, oddly enough, it felt like there was oddly enough, since the Gen 7 came out, it just felt like there's been no rear end impacts, like, at all. When it seems like every time you see the Gen 6, they'd be smashing the rear ends up left and right. But, anyways, like, with Kurt Busch's incident, to be honest, I don't think many people really got the indication that it was a Gen 7 problem. I think some got it, but it just seemed like a hit where he maybe smacked the wall a second time and that just knocked his brain around. But then when Bowman got a concussion and that he hit pretty lightly in comparison, it truly did feel like there was an issue at hand. But this, I mean, you're basically going in driver's side about as hard as you can.
It's gonna hurt.
As square as you can. That's going to get you a concussion regardless of what you can do or not. Like, no amount of safety can protect against literally going from about 170 to 0 in an instant.
Now, I will say, in all fairness to NASCAR, even though that some of it has been on them, because, they pushed this car out, which I don't think that they pushed this car out knowing that this was gonna happen. Like there was some shortage issues here and there, but however, they have been transparent enough to fix it. They did update the rear structure of the back of the car, and out of all the rear impacts of wrecks so far this year, they have looked completely better. I remember when Ty Dillon had his wreck at Dover where he slid back down the track backwards and hit the inside wall. It crushed way better instead of just being a little bit stiff.
Yeah, and also they announced that they're making advancements to the car, the front end of the car, after Atlanta and beyond, the front end's going to crumple a lot more. And they did a test that was basically like Preece and Larson's Talladega crash. The front crumpled a lot more, and the side took in a bit more of the impact. And they did front end tests and all that. And the car just crunches a lot more and takes more of the impact, but also still holds up really good.
Yeah, I do. I don't mean to laugh about this, but I do really find it ironic how they. I think that was the first thing that was announced because I was there when I saw the Preece and Larson wreck, and it didn't look that. I mean, obviously it looked like a hard shot, but then it only I saw them towing the car away, and I saw all the bars mangled up, and I'm just like, I don't think those are supposed to do that. And I saw the new crash test that came out. Obviously, the passenger side is way more reinforced, which is a good thing. And they also did a front clip test where they showed a test of the current clip and the new clip that's coming soon, and the new clip looks like it crunches way better.
Yeah, it mushes a lot more.
I didn't think that the front clip was a necessarily needed change. I just think that they wanted to do the better safe than sorry tactic, because I mean, we've seen some pretty hard hits with the front clip before, and they haven't been too particularly troublesome. It's just, you might as well make the change here before it becomes an issue and you get blamed for being too soft on your safety regulations.
Which NASCAR is definitely not. I mean, a lot. I've seen a lot of people on Twitter, and yes, honestly, I know Twitter is not the best place to go to when something like this happens, but a lot of people are saying that NASCAR made up concussions in 2022. And that's how people are typically reacted to it. Obviously, I did believe that the next gen did have issues and that it needed to be fixed, but this ain't the first time concussions have happened in this sport, people.
Yeah. Dale Jr. got like 6 or 7 known concussions during his whole career.
Yeah, obviously, I mean, some concussions have been more devastating than others. I mean, the concussion hit did literally ruin Kurt Busch's career. He ended up having to retire early, but I don't really think that this is a next gen issue. I just think that, like I said before, I don't think, regardless if Noah Gragson was in a Car of Tomorrow or Gen 6, which are two of the safest race cars that NASCAR has ever built, I think he still would have been hurt. I truly believe that. I mean, and like Theel mentioned, when you're going in at 170 miles per hour and you're going to hit driver's side, it's going to fucking hurt. It's going to hurt you, dude. There's nothing you can do. You're going to feel it.
Yeah, no matter what, it's going to screw you up a bit.
Yeah, and I don't mean to say that Noah, like when I say I think Noah still would have gotten hurt, I don't mean to say that as like a bad thing. I'm just saying it's all the angle really. Like that was a bad hit.
He took that wall driver's side first at least 100 miles an hour.
Also, I did see someone compare it to Jeff Gordon's 2006 Pocono wreck where I believe it was a brake failure and he hit the wall kind of like the same way, and honestly, I could see that comparison. But
brake failures and brake fade can lead to some of the scariest crashes there are.
Yeah, but all I gotta say about this issue is that good luck to Grant Enfinger this weekend. This is his first Cup start, and I actually read that this isn't actually the first time that he is at least attempted to do a Cup race, which is kind of interesting. I know that, like, he's been racing for a while now, like, and shit like that, and I had no idea that he at least tried to attempt it one time. But we obviously hope that Noah Gragson has a speedy recovery, and we hope to see him back on the racetrack soon. But now,
I'm not the biggest fan of Gragson, but I hope he recovers fast.
Yeah, I mean, it's his rookie season. Obviously, his rookie season could be going a lot better, but that's mainly a Legacy Motor Club issue more than a health issue. So, but now moving on to more lighthearted topics, people. It was announced that 2311 Racing will field a third car for the Indianapolis Road Course race, and Kamui Kobayashi.
Kamui Kobayashi.
Yes, he will drive the number 67 car for 2311 Racing at the Indianapolis Road Course. I was
by Toyota GR Gazoo Racing North America.
His success in the Toyota team since about 2016 has been impeccable, to say the least.
Yeah, I've seen some of the stuff of him
He's won. So since he left F1, which he shouldn't have been ousted from F1, he was still a good driver, just needed a good ride. Ever since he was ousted from F1, he's won 2 Rolex 24s. He's won 1 Le Mans 24 hours. He has the lap record around Le Mans, the 3:14.791, in which he still could have gone even faster because he was coasting the last 100, 200 meters to harvest energy. And he's won the 2019, 2020, and 2021 FIA World Endurance Championship titles. So, I mean, what else do you need to say other than this guy wins races? And now he's in NASCAR. It's a great thing for the sport.
However, listen, I like the move. I think the move is very exciting. But the last time we saw the 67 car on track was with Travis Pastrana at the Daytona 500. And I'm reading this NBC Sports article about it, and it said that David Wilson calls this car Project 67. So basically, it's just a copy and paste of what Trackhouse Racing is doing with Project 91. Now, I'm not hating on that, but I don't want the 67 car to be completely just that. I would like to see, there's been talks about Kurt Busch probably getting a start again. I would like to see guys like Sammy Smith and Corey Heim maybe get some starts in the near future.
Yeah, but one thing I've been hearing rumors about is that it's probably just going to be Toyota drivers. But that doesn't necessarily mean it's a bad thing. I mean, there's a lot of Toyota drivers out in the world that could be of good use. Um, I mean, I can't really list off a lot of drivers right now, but obviously Kobayashi's one, and there's also his other compadres in Toyota Gazoo Racing for the WEC that could run, or obviously somebody in the Xfinity series or Truck series running it. You don't really have an idea what it would be now, but there's a lot of opportunity for somebody successful to jump up.
Do you think the 67 will probably eventually be a full-time car? Or something on the lines of that? Because I know 2311 Racing wants to expand eventually. You know, because, like, yeah. But I think with more international drivers coming into this sport, I really think that it's a cool thing. What's his name that's doing Project 91 at Chicago? I forget his name already.
Shane Van Gisbergen.
That's his name, yeah. Yeah, V8 Supercar champion, I believe.
But he's won, I don't know how many supercar races and how many supercar championships with and like AAA engineering and all that, but he's been such a successful driver. And also, I mentioned last time before, there's rumors that Brody Kostecki, currently one of the top two in supercars points, he could also get a ride. So there's a lot of international attention circling around the sport.
Yeah, because, a lot of people, a lot of outsiders will think that this sport is just, us going in circles, this, and that, but I would be inclined to disagree. And I'm sure you guys can agree with me on that one. But speaking of international, going back to international racing, let's talk about Garage 56, shall we? Holy shit is just what I got to say about all the things that's been going on.
Just the Le Mans weekend in general, it's been extremely hype. I've been catching everything basically Le Mans related for the past few months, and it's been extremely hype. And the Europeans, especially when you check Garage 56, they've been hyped about it. They love the sound, they love the shape of the car, and they just love this different brand because the last true Garage 56 car that actually was different than everything else that's been run was 2014 with Delta Wing, and they only made 5 laps. So if they can beat 5 laps, they've already done much better than Delta Wing.
Yeah, I mean, I hardly keep up. Like, I've been keeping up with some of the stuff that's been going on. Like, I'm not the biggest, like, Le Mans guy, but I definitely think that Le Mans is very interesting. And I have been seeing a lot of photos of, like, all the cars lined up. And then, like, basically some of the cars look really identical to each other. Then you just have the big stock car Camaro, and it's just like, one of these is not like the others.
Yeah, it's just like one whole class is literally just 24 Orca 07s. It's just a spec class at this point, and then you just got the Camaro, which is a beefier version of every other GTE car out there. It's hilarious.
International folks be like, oh, so this is how y'all get down in America. Yes, this is how we do it. Of course, a regular Cup car doesn't have headlights or mirrors on the side, but I would say that what you're seeing is kind of close to what you would see in America.
Yeah.
Also, in other international news, NASCAR is in talks with Circuit Gilles Villeneuve to possibly return there for next season, including a Cup race, also known as Montreal. I would love for this to happen. I cannot tell you guys how much I would love to see a Cup race at Montreal.
I just hope this is a step into more international races. I'm not saying the sport has to go international because it's not like the WEC or not like F1 where they can easily just do international races everywhere. But I'm just saying do like 2 races do a race in Canada, do a race in Mexico during the regular season, and if the off season, like have it be like, oh, we have an exhibition here in Japan, have an exhibition in Australia, have an exhibition in Brazil, in places that have lots of hyped up racing fans, already iconic racetracks. I mean, Japan's got, it's got Suzuka, it's got Fuji, it's got Motegi, it's got Okayama. I mean, like, Australia's got the Bend, they've got Adelaide, they've got Melbourne, they've got Mount Panorama, and I mean, Brazil has like Interlagos, and Interlagos is a fantastic track. So, Mike, if you want to try to get that international attention, you got to start venturing out of the country. You can't just be huddled up. And I hope this is a stepping stone.
I would also like to see, like you mentioned Mexico, I would also like to see a return to Mexico too, but I don't know if Kyle Busch wants to see that one. We already talked about his run-in with the Mexican law. Like, correct me if I'm wrong, like, I don't know, like, the record itself, but I think that he is banned from that country for 2 years.
I think it's about that, but not sure how it would work.
And let's be real, Kyle Busch is one of NASCAR's biggest stars, and I'm sure you want to have your biggest stars be part of one of the biggest events that you're probably going to go to all year. And without him there, it's like, I mean, there's other stars in the sport, but Kyle Busch has always been one of those guys. So, back to the main point, Montreal, Kansas, or anywhere international, I definitely think would be cool.
Kansas is international.
What is?
You said Kansas was international. I heard that.
You probably misheard me. Did I?
No. I definitely heard that.
Did I? Well, if I said Kansas international, then I definitely apologize. I don't know why Kansas came in my brain, but let me reiterate. Montreal, Mexico, or possibly a return to Japan. That's what I would like to see in the sport. If we could do that, then that would totally be good. So, all right, ladies and gentlemen, as we are winding down this show, let's get into the final topic, and that is the race picks. Pretty damn simple. We look at the race weekend ahead, and we see who wins. So, for once, I'm actually going to do an ARCA West race. So, ARCA West is running this weekend, and what do y'all think will win?
Probably one of the Cup drivers. I don't have a clue. I'm going to guess Custer, because Custer, I mean, he had a decent run at Portland, and he's just consistently been good on these road courses, especially when he's beating up the young guys. So, I'm going with Custer.
I'm going to go with the guy who won last week, and I think could be one of the potential future superstars in the sport, Landon Lewis. Now let's move on to the main picks. The NASCAR Xfinity Series returns to Sonoma. Wait, has Xfinity Series ever ran at Sonoma before this?
Nope, never ran at Sonoma. This is the first time out there.
Oh, so this is the first time that they're running at Sonoma. Okay.
Trucks ran there 1995 to 1998 and then returned in 2022. But Xfinity's never run a West Coast track. Well, they never ran a West Coast road course until Portland. And then they ran Sonoma with Portland the next week after. So they've got a good expansion there.
Okay, so this is the first time the Xfinity Series has been here. So, it is the DoorDash 250. Theel, who do you have winning the Xfinity race?
Probably Kyle Larson. I'm not against the Kyle Larson win. I just think it's a bit predictable when you see him on the entry list and it's a road course and he has success at road courses. 2 and 2 together equals probably a win. And he also led practice, so.
Well, I'm probably going to go for probably the easiest goddamn pick that I am going to have all season long, and that is the 10 car of AJ Allmendinger. AJ Allmendinger, road course, in the Xfinity Series. We all know what's bound to happen, so that's my pick for the Xfinity race.
My pick for Xfinity, it's a little bit of my bias showing through, but Larson. I think it'll be a close battle between him and Allmendinger, but I have Larson coming out on top.
All right, so both of you all are on the Larson hype train. I am the odd one out, picking Allmendinger. So, all right. So now let's move on to the main event. It is the Toyota Save Mart 350, the final race of the NASCAR on Fox broadcast portion of the season. Yeah, quite frankly, Fox has seen better days. But we still have one more race to go to do for the Fox schedule. All right, so last year's winner of this race was Daniel Suarez. He picked up his first career win. I'm gonna go first with actually Swiss. Considering that you got your pick right last week at Gateway with Kyle Busch, you get the honors of getting the first pick of the Sonoma race. So who are you picking?
Well, it's very easily predictable. I'm going to go with Larson.
Sweet. Nice. It's tough for me to really decide who would win, because honestly, like, the weird thing is last year's race in results, it just doesn't seem normal, because nobody who was a road course, like, god, actually had any success during the race necessarily. I mean, Larson led 26 laps, but that's about it. But if I'm going to say somebody wins a road course race, I'm going to go with an interesting pick that I don't think many people would have thought, but I'm thinking that it's going to be a surprise one. I'm going with Brad Keselowski. Now, that is a weird one, and I understand that, but I have some odd feeling that Keselowski is going to do something and have success at that track. I mean, he's not a road course veteran. He never has been, but just seems to win some races you don't necessarily expect him to win here and there. Like, I mean, he's won Talladega when he's only won, like, one lap. Even if he's good at that track, you don't expect him to win even when he's not having his best day. But I think this is where he gets his first win.
I will make the argument that RFK is probably one of the best, if not the best Ford team in the Cup Series as of right now. Now, I know Team Penske has 2 wins so far this year, but I kind of agree with you on that. I definitely think that Keselowski will probably at some point win this year, because RFK, compared to last year, they have done a hell of a lot better.
Yeah, I mean, Brad leading a bunch of laps and getting second place at Atlanta. Chris Buescher most recently having some pretty good runs, like Coke 600 up there for a pretty long time. It's just overall looking like a really good year for RFK as compared to last year. Everybody still did very good.
If the playoffs were to start right now, both RFK cars would be in the playoffs. But back on topic here. My pick. See, I tried to go for a pretty simple pick, and I'm going to agree with Swiss. I just think that Kyle Larson will get it done, and I believe if he wins this weekend, we'll probably see a new version of the Big Three, because if he wins, he will tie Larson and Busch with wins this year. So, new Big Three coming soon, possibly.
Oh, I love this. I am a big Chevy fan, and I really like Busch, and I really like Larson. Byron, I'm fine with him, but God, I love that.
Yeah, Byron.
I gotta say, if they get the Big Three stuff going, no, I'm not a big fan of it. Saying a Big Three would be like indicating they're absolutely dominating the hell out of the field. No, William Byron's second in points, Kyle Busch is 7th, and Larson would be probably 8th in points if he won, 9th probably still. I mean, he's 40 points back of Hamlin for 8th, but I just, like, if it's a Big Three, it has to be a dominating factor. Now, none of them are extremely dominating. The closest one to the lead is Byron, but Blaney's leading the points. Harvick doesn't have a win, and he's 3rd. Neither does Chastain, and he's 5th. So, really, it's not a Big Three to me. Not yet.
Unless all 3 of those guys, Larson, Busch, and Byron, start going on a tear, which I want to bet that I want to say that those 3 teams aren't done winning races just yet. I mean, Larson's doing his thing. Byron's having so far the best season of his career so far, and then Busch is having a really surprising season with RCR, so it wouldn't shock me if they start going on a tear, but we'll see soon enough. But all right, ladies and gentlemen, that will wrap it up for this week's episode of the Checkers and Wreckers podcast. So far, I would say this is a pretty. It was a pretty awesome show, wouldn't you say, gentlemen?
Yes.
Pretty fun. Good.
Yep. All right, so thank you guys so much for watching. If you guys are watching this, please subscribe to the channel for more podcast episodes and more racing content because, people, we will be, besides this podcast, we have a ton of content planned for you guys in the coming weeks. We are planning a silly season video where we sit down and talk about some silly season moves and some other stuff going on behind the scenes. So thank you guys so much for watching this week's episode, and we will see you guys next time. Bye-bye.